the widow of Zarephath, a loyal and loving wife, taking care of her son. Yet she thought during the famine everyone had forgotten about her after her husband died. But God said, guess what, widow of Zarephath? I haven't forgotten about you. In fact, I'm sending my #1 MVP in the person of Elijah to feed your family. Guess what? She's a storm survivor. And who can ever forget Ruth and Naomi? Leaving the house of bread in order to search for bread. And they found themselves in a foreign land that had no fruit. Yet both Ruth and Naomi survived even when their husbands died. And they made their way back home with no navigation system or compass. Storm survivors. Who can never forget Rahab? Living in the red light district. Living life like it's golden. A prostitute. A harlot. Selling her body for cash. Yet in a storm because she had heard through the grapevine of God's people coming to destroy the land. Believe it or not, the same crimson red cloth that kept her in business got her out of business when she hung it in her window. Who can ever forget that young, innocent teenager, that young, virtuous virgin named Mary, that survived the storm of doubt and ultimate shame, as it would be, but yet she was chosen to be the mother and the vehicle of our victorious Christ. I wonder how many storm survivors are in the house today. Maybe you can say, I have survived the storm of a terrible divorce, a marriage that started out like Little House on the Prairie that ended up like Nightmare on Elm Street. Some of you can say, I survived the storm of a child that gone astray, or even losing a child to the streets or ultimate death. Some of you can say, I survived the storm of breast cancer, cervical cancer, thyroid cancer, colon cancer, among many others. Some of you can say, I survived the storm of addiction and affliction, where one drink was too many, but 15 wasn't enough. Some of you can say, I survived the storm of my husband walking away from the family, and you had to be mother and father. Some of you can say, I survived the storm of having a for sale sign put in the yard of my house because my house wasn't foreclosed. All of us can say we have survived the storm of when trouble packed his bags, sat on our front porch, rang the doorbell and said, I'm here to stay for a while. And the reason I know we're all storm survivors is because guess what? You and I are here today. Can I get an amen? Pardon the personal reference, but I've been to my own storm. I know what it's like for the wind to blow and for the storm to rage. I know what it's like for the lightning to zigzag and the thunder to growl. I know what it's like to be ridiculed, to be mistreated, and to be hated on. I know what it's like. So don't fool yourself, because whether you know it or not, we've all been in a storm. There are 3 groups of women here in this church today. 1, those who are just getting out of a storm. 2, those who are in the midst of the storm, such as myself. 3, and those who are getting Second Chronicles 5 says, trust in the Lord